Once the darkness gets a hold of you, you start to lose control. You start to wonder what the f you're doing. Time slips away from you. And then, all of a sudden, it's like you're sitting in a theater, watching a movie of your own life. And you're up there on the big screen, big as life. You're a movie star, and you're killing all the bad guys, tearing them limb from limb. And you feel good, you look good. You are good. And then you realize something. Everyone else in the theater, they're screaming. Because they're watching a horror movie. And you're not the hero. You're the monster.
There is something inherently sweet when you just happen upon a game with a story and atmosphere that just grabs you tight by the balls.
What did he say?
My first introduction into the series started exactly with the second game, as the first one was Xbox 360 exclusive and I never owned anything other than a PC in my entire life, unless you count my NES from my childhood. The Darkness 2 took me on a wild ride with its dark lore and memorable characters. The story itself is top-notch, the gaming mechanics are fun, collectibles truly feel rewarding, and in addition, it is a beautiful game to look at. Now this is definitely a game worth your time.
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, see you next time. Alright, I'm joking. Let's take a deep dive into this little gaming gem. And yeah, pretty much.
Embrace the darkness, Jackie. Fuck you. I'm done with you, puppet. Well, do my bidding. Give me one good reason.
The Darkness 2 is based and inspired from the comic books of the same name by Mark Silvestri and SaltyKal Productions under the umbrella of DC Comics. You understand what that means? Yes, the Darkness shares the same universe as Batman and Superman and friends. The Darkness comic book also has a couple of collaborations with DC characters such as Batman and Superman, where you can even see the Darkness punching Superman, making the Darkness one of the few characters that is powerful enough to make him bleed. Damn! Before I go into the story, let's fill in a couple of blanks before this. So, what is the Darkness? The Darkness itself is described as an entity or a cosmic force, more like, as old as creation itself. And as you can guess, it doesn't particularly like anything related to goodness and virtue or light, even in the literal sense.
No shit.
The lore of the Darkness is crafted in such a way that the worst things you can think of when it comes to humanity's darkest hours, basically, the Darkness stands front and center to it. Think Spanish Inquisitions, wars in the Middle Ages, World War I, World War II. It has found its way to lay destruction and waste by manifesting itself through a host everywhere it goes. From the worst and most deprived ever rulers in human history like Vlad the Impaler, Genghis Khan, all the way down to sometimes even common man.
Oh, and by the way, you suck!
The force created to counter the Darkness, called the Angelus, responsible for ruining the Darkness's vibe with the words, "Let it be light." That's pretty much the gist of it. Our story, in fact, is one of those hosts considered to be the most powerful, or at least proven himself not to be just a mindless puppet like the rest. A young hitman for the mob by the name of Jackie Estacado. It turns out the Darkness, in fact, travels from host to host through bloodlines. In the SaltyKal comic book, we are seeing predominantly the Estacado bloodline. The Darkness manifests in the host on their 21st birthday, granting them powers beyond the host's imagination at the cost of their own morality, as the Darkness feeds on depravity, violence, and emotional turmoil mostly. Doesn't really control the host, but subtly influences him through a voice in the host's head, to which, depending on how strong-willed happens to be the host, can resist or even negotiate with the Darkness to keep both parties satisfied to a degree. Jackie Estacado is proven to be the strongest of all of them. And if all this got you just as hooked as I did, find the comic books and feast on the lore. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. So, back to the game. This game follows a couple of years after the events of the first game, where Jackie is now the boss of the Franchetti mob crime family and living his life at least as much as he can, given his biggest regret being the loss and inability to save his one childhood best friend from the orphanage and the true love of his life, Jenny Romano. Jackie gets attacked from the very beginning from an unknown at the time group, and would have met his end if he didn't decide it ultimately let the darkness out once more. Fueled now by rage and anger, Jackie and the darkness go on a warpath with this mysterious group, later discovered to be the Brotherhood, a centuries-old organization of religious fanatics with their only goal and belief that the darkness should be harnessed and controlled for their own nefarious goals. You can see and you can sense the constant power struggle between Jackie and the darkness. While Jackie is enraged and still stricken by grief, the darkness doesn't skip a beat to try and influence Jackie, creating illusions and hallucinations, even such that last for a couple of levels, where Jackie is shown to be in an asylum for the insane. At one point down to dangling like a carrot a faint chance that Jackie can save and reunite with Jenny, as she is shown to be a prisoner in hell, all in the hopes that Jackie will finally mentally crumble and the darkness can finally have full control of his host to do his bidding. The story of The Darkness 2 is a great example of how to really captivate the audience. I wish I could tell you more, but I will be spoiling it, so I say experience it for yourselves. When it comes to the story, no question about it. 5 stars from me.
Are you kidding me?
Unexpected.
If you enjoy my honest reviews and want to see more, make sure you like this video and you click on the subscribe button plus the notification bell to be notified for when I upload new gaming reviews. I'm still a small channel and this would really help my growth. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, it's me. This guy's a couple clowns short of a circus, Jackie. He wasn't living by the Queensboro Bridge. He was living under it, in a cardboard box. All right, come on. He's back here. Hey, Chief, how's the wife and kids?
The Darkness 2 is a first-person shooter. Your arsenal includes pistols, revolvers, Uzis, UMPs, shotguns, assault rifles, common weapons of the Mafia setting, so don't expect a rocket launcher or a sniper rifle. You can have only up to 3 weapons on you at any time. 2 of them would be a smaller type weapons, such as the pistols or the Uzis, and the third one is always going to be a bigger one, either a shotgun or an assault rifle type. ADS, or aiming down the sights, is possible when you are wielding just one weapon. And the cool thing is that the 2 smaller weapons you have, you can dual wield them if you want. Doesn't matter if you got a Colt 1911 in one hand and a UMP in the other. While dual wielding them, you will be hip firing, so there will be no ADS there, but instead the button for the ADS would be firing the second weapon. The only weapon that annoyed me was the carbine, which happens to be a burst fire weapon, and I personally hate burst fire weapons. But unfortunately there's no mechanic to change firing mechanisms. Those will be your all-purpose weapons. Now, let's talk about your other weapons. The weapons of the darkness are 2 massive tendrils coming out of Jackie's back, capable of not only opening paths for you by ripping and throwing objects, but also perfectly capable of slicing your enemies in the most visceral way possible.
Someone sure likes to use his big words.
You can use them to grab vulnerable enemies, shown with the highlighted heart, and perform brutal executions on them. The executions themselves are divided in 4 categories. That will be for health, for ammo, for darkness shield, and for power cooldowns, each having about up to 3 animations, which depend on how you grab the enemy. But they do have the tendency to wear off quickly as they will start to repeat, but not gonna lie, it still fills till this day my heart with joy every time I'm able to perform my favorite of all executions, the wishbone execution.
There's something seriously wrong with you.
The darkness's biggest weakness is light, and I mean literally. From standard light bulbs to projectors and car headlights, the darkness retracts and hides and you become exposed. In order to even the odds, you can smash most of the light bulbs or generators with your tendrils or shoot them with your weapons from a distance. In this game, darkness is safety, light is death sentence. Your only way of healing is by eating your enemies' hearts and performing health-specific executions. Another thing the darkness gives you is access to a couple of powers. Some are passive, others are activated. Getting access to them is by collecting points in terms of how you kill people, and then spending those points in character trees. The passive ones only work when you are in the dark and away from any light sources. This would include having an extra armor layer, or darkness increased weapon magazines too. Gun channeling gives you a couple of seconds infused with darkness bullets for extra damage. Swarm spawns a swarm of flies to distract your enemies, especially helpful when you are surrounded to give you some breathing room. Other bonuses include the chance of, when killing an enemy, instead of a heart, to actually spawn a mini black hole which you can throw at a group of enemies for easy kills. The list of enemies is varied. You get standard Mafia goons at first to deal with. When you get to the Brotherhood, they have sort of a darkness armor which you need to first shatter in order to expose them. The Brotherhood specifically is more varied. You got the standard shooters, the melee type broad shoulder guys. The final upgrade of the enemies, ones that have like a small essence of the darkness within, so that gives them like super speed to dart around you. And let's not forget the most annoying one, which has some kind of a darkness infused whip, which when he throws it at you, he can just yoink your weapon away. I'd say arguably the one enemy to worry about the most is the one that carries a light projector which can throw light at you at stupid long distance. Remember that light is your biggest weakness, so if that guy is there, deal with him first. Shoot his projector and then rip his head off.
That felt kind of weird.
Levels are mostly linear and straightforward. If you ever get lost, there is a dedicated button that lets the darkness guide you to the next objective. In your adventure, you will be joined by your trusted Darkling by the name of Tyrant, who could be very useful in combat as it can attack enemies by you directly throwing him at someone, or can attack on his own a random enemy enough to distract him so you can then grab the enemy for a quick execution. At certain key points in the story, you can even control Tyrant from first-person perspective, but it's only in specific moments for a specific objective overall. That's, I believe, like only twice in the whole game, which is honestly a shame because it's really cool perspective shift. You've got a couple of boss fights at certain key elements in the story. The strategy is shoot everything you got until their bloated health bar reaches 0. Technically, shooting them with higher tier weapons such as an assault rifle compared to, let's say, dual pistols should generally deliver more damage, but the difference is so small and insignificant for me personally, barely makes any difference even if I add the gun channeling power. Pretty much shoot until the cutscene starts. The Darkness 2 uses hit scan rather than projectile shooting, which means if your crosshair is on the target and nothing is in the way, you hit. But that goes both ways. If 10 enemies can see you, you're getting hit 10 times, guaranteed. From what I've noticed, there is some form of a damage output. The game calculates based on the distance between you and the enemy you target, so don't expect to basically sniper someone in the head with a shotgun from across a parking lot and expect one hit kill.
Are you fucking stupid?
Weapons simulate a recoil, but since it's a hit scan system, they're just for show. As I mentioned, in the story section, you also got additional campaign called Vendetta, where you have the chance to try out 4 more characters. Each one carries a weapon that is infused with darkness essence, so in terms of playstyle they differ from one another, as each has access to only one of the darkness's powers, unlike Jackie. You got an assassin named Inugami, who has a darkness-cursed sword by the name of Kusanagi, and he uses, for example, the Fly Swarm power. There is Shoshana, an ex-Mossad agent, and her darkness-cursed weapon is a sawed-off shotgun called Arm of the Light. She has the gun channeling power. You got an Irishman by the name of Jimmy, who wields a dark axe and can summon 2 exploding darklings. and JP Dumont, a doctor from New Orleans with voodoo tricks and his midnight stick who can create black holes.
Get your mind out of the gutter. You're better than that.
Vendettas can be played solo or in co-op with up to 4 players maximum, but since the game uses peer-to-peer, finding random players to join is pretty much impossible. Only way to experience the co-op is for you to have a buddy that also has a copy of the game. There is also one more mode which is called Hit List that is presented as kind of challenges for time and for points, which also can be played either solo or in a group of up to 4 people. In the hit list, you can choose levels in any order, and between any level, you can also switch between characters, while in Vendetta campaign, once you start it, you have to finish it with that same character you've chosen. During your adventures, you will happen on a different occult items in the form of collectibles, described as part of the Darkness lore, each having its own story, and something to do with either the Darkness, the Angelus, or the Brotherhood, which can be seen physically after you collected them in the back room in your mansion. Their story and purpose and relation to the lore in the world is beautifully read and narrated by the character of Johnny Powell. Easily you can lose 1 hour of your time just watching them and listening to them.
I hope you're not in a good mood, because if you are, I promise this is gonna shit all over it. This is the Lantern of St. Anthony, possibly the most misidentified item ever created. I don't mean people look at this lamp and say, that is a very luminescent club sandwich. What I mean is, most people see this lantern as a symbol of hope, but really, it's a symbol of soul-crushing despair. Now, the outer casing is only 80 years old, but the light inside the lantern goes back, about 1,000 years. In her war against the darkness, the Angelus sought an ever-burning light. She gathered the souls of 100 children butchered by the darkness, and bound them within a glass sphere. This combined lightness of being produced a blindingly powerful light, but only when the dead children felt like it. Turns out kids are fickle little bitches. The Angelus abandoned the sphere, totally apathetic towards the children still trapped inside. The sphere remained lost for quite some time until it was discovered by St. Anthony, the patron saint of lost things. Go figure! Anthony fastened it onto a lantern, believing it to be a gift from God. He was convinced the light would guide a traveler home, but usually it just led them over a cliff or into a bog. So yeah, St. Anthony used this lantern to unknowingly kill hundreds of innocent travelers, all because the Angelus thought the imprisoned souls of murdered children would make a cool weapon. Yay!
This is a perfect example of how to make gathering collectibles right in a game, hands down. As for the gameplay, 5 out of 5.
I can sense it leaving you as I speak. Even if you survive this, I just have to wait until your batteries run out. Please take care of our little friend here. When he is broken, bring him to me.
I'm sorry, Jackie. I have other patients to see.
But Jenny, I'm trying to save you. I've been so lost without you.
Take your pills, and I'll let you touch my boobs.
Excuse me, what?
Despite the first game of the franchise being with realistic graphics for the time, which kind of reminded me the Chronicles of Riddick, for the Darkness 2, Digital Extremes had chosen the cel-shaded graphics a la Borderlands. Personally, I don't mind it. In fact, I believe it looks great, even by today's standards.
I bet you do.
Ragdoll physics are being used here for the bodies, which feel good. The gun and impact sounds, I can only say good things, especially I love the sound of the Colt 1911 pistols. Mike Patton, the ex-frontman of metal band Faith No More, returns as the voice of the darkness inside Jackie's head, and he delivers an amazing and chilling performance. The other voice actors, for Jackie, for Vinny, for Victor Valenti, the leader of the Brotherhood, and the rest, they have done an amazingly great job, in my honest opinion, nailing down their characters. Particularly my favorite is David Hoffman, who voices the mentally scarred for life occult and darkness expert Johnny Powell.
Yeah, thanks for saving my ass, and hey, don't worry about me. That stuff I said about Jackie, that's all in the past. We're buds. Best friends forever. 2 peas in a pod. He'd never kill me. He'd never hurt a fly. The guy's the best.
Look, the boss said not to hurt you, so you're fine. Now get down to business.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right, totally fine, okay. I'm safe. I haven't been blindfolded or tied up or guarded 24/7 by guys with guns and low blood sugar.
Tell them what's up or I'll tie you to that chair again.
The music in this game is kept to a minimum, with predominantly atmospheric tones here and there, but nothing really distracting or for me to specifically point out. Even by today's standards, and given this game is from 2007-2008, The Darkness 2 works without a hitch at maximum frame rate. One of my biggest critiques of this game, which is not really the game's fault, I must say, is the way the game ends. Without spoiling it for you, The Darkness 2 is known to finish on one of the biggest and saddest cliffhangers in gaming history, full stop. The developers of The Darkness 2, Digital Extremes, which we know today by their biggest and most successful darling, that being the game Warframe, was a small studio at the time, had started the work on The Darkness 3 in order to finish the saga right after they finished The Darkness 2 and their publisher 2K Games published the game. Despite presenting 2K Games with a workable early prototype for The Darkness 3, 2K Games reportedly didn't see enough return and sales of their investment in this franchise after 2 games and unfortunately refused to fund the sequel. Since 2008, the hope of getting The Darkness 3 is pretty much dead in the water. Ever since then, only mention of the franchise was made in 2023 as a possible remaster material down the pipeline by Night Dive Studios, although reportedly the Darkness games are not considered by them a priority at the moment. Ultimately, still, as of February 2026, there is no definitive answer anywhere if we will be ever able to see the well-deserved conclusion of the story. In all fairness, the only reason I'm not giving 5 stars when it comes to design, and genuinely pains me for that, is because of how short the game is. 6 hours main story, plus up to 2 hours Vendetta campaign, so realistically 8 hours total. Maybe you can squeeze more if you find a play buddy, but that's unlikely, let's be honest. Another little critique of mine is I believe the asylum portions of the story were far too many, as they are pretty much a walking simulator. It was an interesting perspective, The Darkness, to take you there, while in the real world puts you back together because you just had a close meeting with a shotgun in your head. Despite the cool and creative freedoms with established characters and humor, it just creates this huge contrast between, all the action, the blood, the gore, the excitement, and then you got the loony bin hospital where you literally do nothing but walk and talk. I understand it's supposed to be a filler, but at least in the first game, for those fillers, you still had something to do in those cases. There, you were transported into a nightmarish form of perpetually forever stuck in the horrors of World War I purgatory, killing enemy soldiers. That was pretty creative. But here, boring! So when it comes to design, I'll have to give The Darkness 2 this time 4 out of 5 stars.
Not Jenny!
Jackie! This isn't a game! If you die here, you are really dead. It's over!
I saw you again today. In the alley. Down on the tracks. I still see you. Everywhere I go.
Despite the overwhelmingly heavy problem, that being once you decide to experience the story, you know you will never get to see the conclusion, and that's how I felt when I watched the series lie to me, the game has plenty to offer. Fast-paced action, creative mechanics, engaging plot, pleasant to the eye graphics. If only there was more. Final score for The Darkness 2? I'll be honest, I'll give it 5 stars. It's a must play for every fan of the first-person shooter genre. And definitely I recommend you get your hands on the comic books too. This is SaltyKal. Thanks for watching. See you next time.